With all of the great conveniences of WebFlow, one of the more challenging limitations is that it does not offer any kind of security for collection pages. So what that means is you've got a great CMS, you can publish article content, blog entries, anything that you want in there, and WebFlow allows you to password protect folders and pages throughout your site using a very simple shared password approach. Not a full membership system, though hopefully that's coming in the future. However, that password capability does not exist for collection pages, which means that if you wanted to secure any content that exists in your CMS, you're out of luck. Now, I have encountered a number of situations where this presents a problem for me, and I've been looking for a way around it. So I wanted to give you a quick and rather crude solution to this problem. So here's a common case scenario I've got. This particular website has a lot of published content coming in through other sources, through blogs, through YouTube channels. I've got it all automated so that it's picking up that content as it comes in. Some of the content is members only, meaning that you are supposed to have the password in order to access it and view it. Some of the content is free to the public. Now, as far as a user experience goes, the optimal user experience is that a public non-member user coming to the website and browsing around should be able to click on any content item. Here are the most recent four you can see. You should be able to click on this content item and go directly to view that piece of content. Whereas if they click on a members only piece of content, they should go to the login page. They should basically be redirected to the login page so that they can log in if they are a user who has just not logged in yet, or the login page should direct them to sign up for membership. So this is the way this experience looks. If I click here, it would take me to the content page. If I click here as an unlogged in user, it should then take me to the login page, and then non-members should hopefully sign up, get some information, sign up here and get some more information and details. Now what if I am logged in? So if I go into the login process here and I enter in the password, and now I am a logged in member. Now, no matter where I am in the website, including the unsecure pages, the behavior flow should change a little bit. I should, of course, be able to view the public free content, but I should also be able to, with a single click, go directly to the collection item page for this particular item. And I've now got that implemented where it's detected my login state, and using that, it has been able to forward me to the correct content. And that can work pretty conveniently anywhere in the website. As I go through all these different collection items, I can tell whether this is a logged in user who should be able to see it, or whether it's free public content and they should be able to see it, or whether they're not. And all based on that login state. So essentially, we've found a way to pretend that collection pages are secure. And I want to talk a little bit about how the particular solution that I went through, because I played with a couple of different approaches, and I ran into some limitations. And if you find this useful, may as well save you the time and the hassle of running through the same brick walls. So now my background is as a back-end developer. I do databases, I do C# and .NET type work, Java type work, systems architecture, and so on. I am not a jQuery or JavaScript developer, so the front-end limitations I encountered were a little bit new to me. There's a little bit of muddling around in the approach. For example, one of the challenges I found, so right now I'm logged in as a user, you can see that when you log in, WebFlow creates a cookie called WF page, consistently named, and it has the path depending on where you logged in. So if I logged into /member, then it creates a cookie WF auth page /member, and that's how it remembers which folders I am logged into or which pages I am logged into, and that allows me to navigate around the site until that cookie expires, and then I need to log in again. Originally, my plan was to find a way to detect this cookie no matter where I am in the site's navigation. So if you know anything about cookies and paths, the way they are really designed to work is that if I am in the member directory or below that, then I'm able to see this cookie. But if I'm outside of that directory or above it, I should not be able to see that cookie. Now, there are ways around that. But there's a second problem here, which I ran into, which is that this particular cookie is marked as HTTP only. Now, what that means is essentially that JavaScript is not able to access this cookie under any circumstances, and that's essentially a security approach. So they've made it pretty rigid. There may be some other way around that. Probably there is. But at that point, I realized that detecting the WebFlow authentication cookie was not going to be the convenient way to figure out whether or not I'm logged in. So I took a different approach. Now, what I did instead is I decided to detect whether or not I'm logged in using an iframe pointing to a secured page. So essentially, if you look at my document hierarchy here, this members folder and this members homepage are the main secured content area of the site. This is what I mean when I say someone is either logged in or not. I'm talking about whether or not they are logged into this directory. So the way to determine programmatically from anywhere in the website whether or not someone is logged in to this particular page was pretty straightforward. What I do is I set up an iframe on every page. So I've done this as site-wide footer code. And I put an iframe in that looks for a particular page. In this case, I've called it /member/C. Any name would have done. It's a very simplistic page. Its only job is to either allow me to access its content, if WebFlow allows that because I'm logged in, or I'm not going to get this page that I've requested. I'm going to instead get the login page directly. So if I request /member/C, I'm either going to get the content of this page or I'm going to get the login page. And what I've done, something that I can detect fairly cleanly without having to muck around with cookies too much, is an attribute on the body element of this page. So if I click on the cookie page here, this page is very simple. I want it very, very lightweight, no content, no images or anything. Since it's going to load in the iframe of every page on the website, I want it as thin as possible. Now, all I've done, if I go to the document navigation here, the highest level element I can access is the body element. So I go straight into element settings, and I have added a body attribute of data-logged-in equals true. Basically, if I can access this page, I know I'm logged in. It's pretty much as simple as that. So I store this little bit of element on it. Now, correspondingly, just for completeness, I've done the same thing on the login page, on the password protection page. So if I go here, which is a little bit fancier and heavier, but not extremely heavyweight, I go to the body here, I'll get data logged in equals false. Now, it doesn't really matter if I have this or not. The way I've done the code, it's also able to handle an undefined value, because there's always a chance that the iframe content won't load at all, in which case I don't want it to think it's logged in. So I always default to false as the logged in state. Now, to make this accessible, what I've done is I have basically put all of the content into site-wide code. That includes an iframe, and that includes, let's go to the project settings. It includes a few functions that allow me to detect my logged in state. So I go to custom code here. And you can see here I've got an iframe which is pointing to my particular test page. Now, whatever folder you are using as your primary indicator of login state, you will need that iframe to point to a page beneath that folder. And that's the basic idea. Now, I've kept this iframe completely hidden, display none, visibility hidden, width and height 0, just to make sure on all browsers this thing is just basically invisible. And then I've got a chunk of script, and the chunk of script is pretty straightforward. What it's doing is the first function is to determine whether or not I'm logged in. And the way it does that is it checks window.authTest, which is the name of this iframe. So current window.authTest document gets the body and checks to see if the data item logged in is undefined, in which case it will automatically fail. Now, if you're not aware of this, in jQuery, if you have a data item, then the attribute beginning with data hyphen and whatever this content is what it will retrieve. So I've got data hyphen logged hyphen in. So when I requested the data for logged in, that's exactly what it's looking for. Now, if there isn't one, false. We are not logged in. Otherwise, I grab that content and I just return it. It's pretty simple. I'm not even checking to see if it's Boolean. I leave that up to you. You're in control of your site, so the value should be true or false. And if this works right, you get a good response here, indicating whether or not you're currently logged in. Now I get to use that call anywhere I want, anywhere in my site, to do anything I want. So I can make UI changes, behavior changes. In this case, I am focused on-click event handling. So what I'm typically looking for is if someone clicks an item, then I want to know whether I'm logged in or not and make a decision accordingly. Now that on-click handler is here at the bottom of my code. Basically, anywhere I identify a link with this particular class on it, pub-link, which is something that I can set in WebFlow, then I handle the on-click event, and what I do is I will go up to the container, and basically I'm looking for a few pieces of information to help me construct the correct link. It gets a little bit messy because in order to basically put in a custom piece of code from the CMS, I can't put it inside the link itself, so I drop it next to the wrapper. We'll have a look in the object hierarchy, just so you can have a look at what's happening. But effectively, I'm capturing the on-click event, I'm getting a few pieces of data, and I'm determining whether you're logged in or not. If this particular item is marked as free, then I just redirect you directly to it. If it's not free, meaning it's members only content, it's very simple. If you're logged in, you get directed directly to it. If you're not logged in, you get to go to the member publication page, which basically means you're going to get the login screen. It's essentially where I'm going to send you, and then you have to log in first. If you successfully log in, now you'll be seeing the members only publication screen, and you will have to click it again, but that's a much smoother operation than dragging you all around the site. Those could probably be upgraded a little bit further. Now, if I go into the code again, I'm going to show you a little bit about what my construction looks like per CMS item so that you have some clarity on what's going on there. So I'm going to go to the publications page so you can see that. So on the publications page, I've got all these different items. Some of them are members only, some of them are not. Now the way I have created that distinctive look for each of them is I have created a collection list, as you can see here, And then within it, I have this thing called Pub's Item Frame. And then I have both a free and a members-only version of the artwork. Only one of them is shown. They are filtered. So basically, if it's a free pub, you get to see the free pub display version. If it's a members-only pub, you get to see the members-only pub version. That gives me full control over how I represent it. Obviously, they look pretty similar. The only difference is I've applied some CSS blur effect to specific parts of it, and I've dropped an image over the top of it. Well, let's go a little bit deeper. Here's my clickable item frame, and I've got it the same frame in members as well. On either of these, if I look at the link and how it's defined, you can see it's not going anywhere. It's just going to be a hashtag. Okay, so it's not going anywhere because I want to handle this exclusively in the jQuery and in the JavaScript. The reason being, if someone turns off JavaScript, I don't want it to automatically cause the entire security system to open the doors wide. Instead, I want to just have it, just keep the doors closed shut, basically. And that's the approach that I've taken here. If JavaScript is not enabled, then you're not gonna see anything. You'll click on it, but nothing will happen, and that's totally fine in this particular use case scenario. So now let's go a little bit deeper. If I have a look at what's happening here, I've got my item here. My click item has a pub-link class assigned to it. Now this pub-link class is what's handled in my page-wide jQuery click event handler. So it's looking for those, and both of them have to have that same click event handler. There we go, pub link. Now, what happens when I click that is I get the currently clicked item, and I look up all the way until I find the parent item with this pub link data container. So looking for the pub link data container, and then from there, I'm going back down to find this HTML embed. Now the reason I need to do that is I'm looking for this pub link data item. This data item is where I store the key bits of information I need to construct the link. The most important one is the slug, of course, and I need to know whether this particular data item is free or not. So essentially, I wanted to make this very universal. No matter whether I click on a free link or a members-only link, I want it to all go through the same code and use the same format of data to determine what the best course of action is. At the end of the day, it's pretty straightforward, and it makes it very versatile. It makes it so that I can easily reproduce this in quite a few different areas of the site without very extensive work trying to redesign and code it. I think I mentioned before, the main reason I had to do this bouncing around where I go to the parent and then find my code is simply that I cannot put this HTML embed inside of a link. WebFlow does not permit that. But that's just as well because it doesn't really make sense to duplicate that code anyway. So this works just as elegantly for my particular scenario. You can design something quite similar, and you're welcome to use any of the ideas that you have from here. I hope that it is helpful in your WebFlow adventures.